Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Men, Women, and Happiness. And today we're going to talk about what we really expect from relationships and what we come to expect from relationships, and whether there are healthy boundaries that we can explore around what a relationship ought to be in our lives and perhaps the things we should avoid. I'm Scott McLaughlin, and I'm joined by my co host, Leanne Kansler. Leanne, what do you think about this?
The great expectations. Expectations are something that can lead us to trouble, is what I want to say about that. If we expect too much from our partners, then what happens is this real sense of discontent, unhappiness, failure. Why aren't they doing what I want them to do? All of that sort of thing. And that can then lead to the other person feeling like they're being controlled, or they have to change, or they have to change themselves to make life happy. And it actually can kind of break the connection between the two of you, because I'm expecting you to be my everything, and the other one's like, oh my God, this is all too much. And it can just make more and more problems. So I think it's really important that we assess our expectations. Are we being realistic? And look inwards and ask ourselves, if my partner was expecting all of this stuff of me, maybe different stuff, how would I feel? Like if my partner wanted me to change constantly, to be different, to be better, to be somebody else, to be happier, to be richer, to be this, to be that, like this constant be someone different. The message that we're giving to our partner is, you're not good enough and I don't like you.
Yeah, I think in my experience, I think one of the things I'd like to share is that I have most definitely made the mistake of looking for happiness in connection. Now, connection does make us happy, but I think one of the things I've failed to do in the past is recognize where I'm at and recognize, you know, where I'm at in myself, how happy I am in myself, and then therefore, what am I expecting from this other person? And I've been in situations where both of us were unhappy and looking for happiness from each other, which ended up in sort of codependency. And as an anxious attacher, when I'm looking for somebody to be a source of happiness, I'll just people please to death and lose myself in that relationship, and I'll literally lose my individuality in that relationship because I see it as a source of happiness. And you know, and I know it's all cliche, but it actually does come from within. And I think we have to really thoroughly assess before we get into a relationship why it is we want to connect with somebody, why it is we want to bond with that person, what is it that we're expecting from them, and ensuring that we're not trying to get them to fill holes in ourselves.
100%. I just want to comment on that sense of, and I've done it as well, so no judgment to anyone, and I probably still do it now to some degree, that when we meet someone, we do change ourselves a lot. However, there's a reason that you two attracted to each other in the first place, and they liked you for who you were in that moment, whether it be outgoing and fun, and you took care of yourself, and you were individual in whatever that way was, because you'd been single for a while, you were connected to who you were. That's what attracted you, as well as all the other stuff that goes with it, the trauma stuff and all that. That's another conversation. So there's many reasons that people attract to each other, but then we change. Then we think, oh, okay, I can't do this anymore, or I can't do that anymore, or your partner wants you to be their everything and be there for them, and that whole sense of, you complete me. Oh, seriously. I hate that line.
Hollywood informed.
Vomit. Yeah. Yes, and so many people believe that is true. That's what relationships should be. This whole soulmate, twin flame stuff, and all that. Sure, but the more complete we are as an individual, and the more we like ourselves and trust ourselves, the more we don't need this sense of somebody else completing us and having these expectations that you are going to make me happy. That's not how it works, is it?
It's interesting when you say people change. I mean, certainly men tend to, like, once they're in relationship, and there's kind of two cohorts of men really. There's the man that continues to live his life the way he lives it, but he becomes more absorbed in the relationship, and tends to be lesser friend going forward. And then there's the guy that completely just dives into the relationship, and his whole past life and connections fall by the wayside. And I've
Mm,
done I've done both of those things, but probably more the latter. I think what's
mm,
interesting when you talk about how we change in a relationship is that we're trying to accommodate someone else's requirements of us when, as you
mm,
rightly say, originally they were attracted to who we were in the first place. And it continues to astound me. The older I get, the more self-aware I am. The more self-aware I am, the more upfront I am with people about where I'm at, what I'm capable of, what I don't believe I'm capable of. And women continue to astound me that, oh no, it's okay, I'll change you. Um, and I think that's something that has to be, I think almost every man could, resonate with that. That we
mm.
find ourselves going, but she was attracted to me for what I was, wasn't she? Or did she just think that there was a good canvas here that she could maybe build upon or something?
Yes,
Is that, I don't know. It's,
that's definitely a thing. That sense of I can change him or her or them, I can change them, is often an unconscious desire to fix mummy or daddy.
yeah. Oh, interesting. Let's go there.
Mm. And there's this expectation that you will either be like my desired parent or that you won't be like my undesired parent. It always goes back to childhood that I can't accept you for who you are because I haven't yet accepted myself, or I'm still trying to fix my unconscious wounds, whatever they are. When we fix our unconscious wounds, we don't feel the need to fix somebody else or change
Interesting.
them, because in fact we are all whole as we are, and we are not broken, and we don't need to be fixed, but we still think that we do.
Well, I guess we've all had a set of experiences that teach us what love and connection is, and that comes from, as you say, the very first beginnings of that experience in life.
Mm,
And I think we can't underestimate, to your point, the influence that has on how we see ourselves, what we come to expect from a relationship, and how we behave in a relationship too. I
mm,
mean, you know, um, for the people pleasers out there, God, it's so easy to get lost. It's so easy to get lost in the relationship and go,
yes.
um, and literally go, oh yeah, I'll do that for you. I'll do this for you. I'll do that for you. I'll do this for you. I'll be there. I'll be here, and then
Mm.
build up a resentment over that
And
because
blame your partner.
yeah, and blame your partner because unconsciously what you're trying to do is maintain the connection because you think it's um, in some way filling a hole for you.
Mm.
And maybe I'm projecting there. Maybe that's me. But well, it could be. I mean, yeah, it could be.
Yeah,
It's not like I haven't done that. So yeah, I think this is a really important topic that that it is cliche to say you've got to love yourself before you can love somebody else, but it's also true.
mm,
And I think to what extent, right? We're all works in progress, right? To what extent do we like ourselves, and is it enough? And the truth is, it will never be enough. But this is about, I believe, this topic is more about the boundaries we set around the expectations we have of our partner and what we think
100%.
they're supposed to do for us in our life.
That's right. And boundaries is a very important word. I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to if you didn't. There's a difference between having good boundaries and having expectations. So, yes, when we set boundaries, we do expect people to heed to them, to respect them, and pay attention to them. And good boundaries are things like um, you won't, maybe some people don't like swearing. You won't swear at me. You won't hit me. You will
Oh,
come home.
that's probably
That sort
minimum
of
requirement.
yeah, basic. I know my mind is going. Okay, that's what's the basic boundaries right now. But just uh, being clear about what you want in relationship without changing the other person. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And expectation is that you will be the person that I demand you to be. It's almost like an expectation is a demand. You have to be this way or else. That's kind of what it feels like to me. I don't know. What do you think?
You see, I find this funny on the dating scene, right? Because I've, and okay, I'm being a hetero male. My experience is that I find it fascinating the degree of certainty that people have around what they think they need. And the reason I say that is that when you're in a relationship or when you're on the dating scene, you're actually surrounded by a bunch of people who haven't succeeded yet, right? And if you haven't succeeded yet, I'm fascinated with how you get a degree of certainty around what it is you need. Um,
Mm.
and
Maybe
I
they've
think we
done some
need,
work on themselves.
well, maybe, but I mean, I think if you haven't experienced it, you don't know it, right? So,
Mm.
um, and so I find that fascinating. And in that context, I think when we go into a relationship, we need to be open minded about what it is that could come up for us, what it is that could occur for us, what it is that we could, come to enjoy that we didn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
And stay open to that, because if we knew the formula, we would not be single. Speaking for myself, um, but and I think the degrees of certainty around that are very restrictive, right?
Mm.
And if we're really honest about that, to your point, where do those boundaries and rules come from? Well, mum and dad, right?
Yeah.
I don't want you to I don't want you to be like this. I don't want you to raise your voice. I don't want you to, whatever it is that might personify,
Mm.
mum and dad, as you say, subconsciously. We need to be fully aware that those rules in our mind come from those experiences, and that completely different experiences could take us somewhere so much better if we just stayed open and communicated. But to your point, setting boundaries is not a beginning. It's not something you walk in at the gate, get a ticket, they tell you where to sit, and how to sit, and blah blah blah. It's not like that. It's got to be
No.
an ongoing discussion around
Yeah.
how do you feel about this, and how do you feel, and that'll change and it'll evolve.
Mm.
But
Absolutely.
um, I think it's super super important that we bring awareness to any situation, but particularly when we're trying to get into connection with somebody.
Yeah. I think that just helped me clarify in my mind what the difference is between a boundary and an expectation. Boundaries are very respectful. It's based off respect of each other. I, I, I respect what you're saying in your boundary here, and I will do my best. Sometimes I might fail, but I'll do my best to honour that and to be with you. An expectation is more rigid and demanding, and it's not
Yeah.
respectful. It's not respectful. That's the difference.
Uh, okay. And another way to think about that pendulum might be that there are two aspects, either emotion or empathy. And when we're in
Mm.
emotion, it's about us. It's about, and we need to recognize that that's about our needs and our wants and our desires, and has nothing to do with your partner. And when
Mm-hmm.
we're in empathy, we're out there trying to understand the other person, and trying to deliver an experience for them, a relationship for them that works for them.
Mm.
That might be another way to reframe that thinking, because I do. You got to catch yourself when you're in emotion, right? When you
Yeah.
become needy, or when you become, and God damn it, that's me. Or when you feel unsafe or whatever, that's all about you.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
all about
wondering
you.
if we can create a sense of, not that it's working for me or working for them, but working for us.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
when we have an us in our conversation, it changes things. And it's a win-win.
yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, it's
Mm.
kind of like, it's funny. I should use this as an analogy, but having done years and years of work in strategic partnerships, it's not much different, right? You bring two
Yeah.
brands together and you go, what are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to achieve? Oh, how can we help each other with our goals? It's
Mm.
kind of the same process, right? But when we get into
Mm.
relationship, um, it's very easy for somebody to lose track or lose sight of who they are and what they want in life.
Yeah.
And
I
the minute they
totally
do
agree.
that, and that happens like quite commonly. I call it doormatting yourself, right? And we don't mean to, but
Mm,
someone in the relationship will roll over on stuff they're not happy to,
yeah.
not say anything, and accept that this must be what I need to go through to get love.
Yes.
And
And this can be something as simple as our different times that we want to go to sleep, for instance, or get out of bed.
yeah,
So if someone is a night owl and the other person is a morning person, and you adjust your body clock to match, somebody will always be out of kilter. And this is something that I've recently discovered, that I am more creative actually at night, and my husband is a morning person. When I'm like, I don't even hear him get out of bed sometimes. I'm like in deep sleep at that time. But if I go to bed too early, it doesn't work. And so I kind of messed up my body clock by trying to match his. And when I realized that that expectation was on me, actually, not on him.
hmm
I
hmm
expected that we're married, I should go to bed at the same time as him. I don't know where that came from. That's what I saw my parents do, and that's what I thought you did.
yeah,
And now I've realised that, oh, okay, I actually don't have to do that. He doesn't care. He's like asleep like that. So it doesn't matter. But I can stay up and create or watch a show that I want to watch that he doesn't want to watch or whatever, talk to a friend. I don't have to have this unrealistic expectation of myself. So expectations are not just what we expect of our partners in relationship, but also what do we expect of ourselves that is unrealistic or untrue.
I love the sleep analogy because it's so simple and it's so common. And
Mm,
I'm always historically up between 4:30 and 5, so
mm,
I'm used to being like a bedtime ninja. I can get out of a bedroom without a trace, most of the time because I've had to, right?
mm,
But I'm the opposite to you in the sense that once I hit 7 o'clock, I don't want to do anything
mm,
at night. I've got a meeting tonight at 7, and I'm sort of cringing about it because it's just starting to get to that point where I'm losing interest in work because I've been up and at it since 5. Um,
yeah.
but I think it's a really good analogy because I've done it myself. I've stayed up late for people who are, stay up or laterers, and you know they'll they won't get up till 7:30, and I'll be up at 5 o'clock going, God, I'm tired. Um,
Mm,
and yeah, it's a really great and what a very simple example of setting good boundaries, right?
isn't it? And getting to know yourself. And sometimes it might take a little while to realize because at first, the limerence is there, the honeymoon phase, you want to be together all the time and all of that.
hmm hmm
And so it could be a slow burn sort of thing where you don't realize that this is what you're doing to yourself until suddenly you realize that, it's not working. And then
Yeah,
we blame our partners. And, we think that they expected that to happen when maybe the conversation never even happened.
yeah, that's right. That's right, and we do, as you say, subconsciously, try to adapt to that person's habits and to their life. And God, I've done it before where you know I was dating somebody on the other side of town, and at the time I thought that was really good because I didn't want somebody in my grill all the time. I wanted a relationship, but I didn't. I was happy to catch up, once or twice a week, but I didn't want to live in each other's pockets. So it was kind of
Mm,
it was for me. It worked theoretically. However, what ended up happening is that I ended up spending an inordinate amount of time driving across town, um, and I lost a lot of productivity at work, and I lost a lot of other things in
mm,
my life, and that's not that person's fault. That's my
no.
fault because I couldn't set that boundary for myself. I couldn't say, you know what, I'm really sorry I can't come over tonight because I've got so much to do. I didn't do that.
Mm,
I went over
mm,
there, I played the diet, and I put the pressure on myself, um, and that had nothing to do with that person's choice. That was my choice.
yeah.
Um, but I resent it? Oh shit, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I really
Yeah.
resented it, yeah, because I thought that was her expectation, and maybe it was. I don't, or maybe it wasn't. I don't really know. But what I do know for sure is
Mm,
that it was my decision.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I think it's very, very important that we look at our own expectations and what we think our partner wants from us, like what we're mind reading. You know, have you had the conversation? Has it been directly said that you must come to bed with me every night and you must get out of bed with me every morning and you must drive to my house every blah blah? And you know, has that been specifically said, or has it just been assumed? And many people will know the little what is it? When you break up, assume, it means you're making an ass out of
Ass
you
out of
and
you and
me.
me.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's really what it does, doesn't it? You know, we set these false expectations, and I think it's worthwhile for people to consider, well, okay, what am I expecting? Is it realistic or is it not? What am I expecting of myself? Is that realistic or not? Is it working for us? Is it working for me? Is it working for you? And then maybe write them down even, and then have a chat. Go to therapy with your partner if you need to, but really acknowledge these expectations. And one more quick thing I want to say about expectations is the good old expectations in the bedroom, which is a massive libido killer. If you expect your partner to be doing something with you, whether it actually just be
Yeah,
sex or
absolutely.
a particular activity that they are like about, it's gonna kill the bedroom activities. So letting go of expectations in the bedroom is a big one. It's a hard one, and you might need to see a therapist about how to do that. But it's definitely something you need to consider if you're expecting that your partner should be doing A, B, or C, then you're on the wrong track.
And you know what comes up for me here at the very base of things is what I know about me, as a for instance, and it's not all
Mhm.
about me, despite popular opinion. Um, but what I know about me is that I find it really hard, really difficult to ask for what I want. I find it really difficult uh, to set a boundary, to say, "Hey, I need some space," um, because it's ingrained in me to please, and to me that might be hurtful,
Mm,
and I avoid those conversations. So before you even talk about, I mean, I love the bedtime analogy because it is such a simple application of maintaining your own independence and doing
mm,
what's good for you, right? So I
yeah,
really love that example. But on top of that, you got to be able to say, right? And I think, or underneath it, actually, you got to be able to say, and I know I struggle with it. And if you do, maybe a great remedy is to say to your partner, you know what? I actually have trouble asking for what I want. And I want you to know
mm,
that I have trouble, like, setting boundaries and all that sort of stuff. So I might be a bit fumbly, but I'm going to have a go at this here. I'm going to have a
yeah,
go at trying to explain to you what I would like. And I don't want that to be hurtful. And that is what keeps me from doing it.
yeah,
Um, because I don't want, you to feel bad. So I have trouble setting those boundaries because I care about how you feel,
mm,
often over how I feel. Having that conversation, I think, would be really constructive early in a relationship, if you do indeed
absolutely.
struggle with that stuff. Because I know I do. I'm hopeless at that stuff.
That's a really good time to be using the feedback sandwich, or the love stuff, love. There's something good, the stuff, there's something good. So, as an example, you know, I really love you, and I value our relationship, and this is why I need to tell you this. I really need some time, and I'm finding that I'm feeling resentful because I'm not setting clear boundaries. And I really want to have this conversation with you because I want to make it work and I need your help.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Instead of making your partner the problem, allow them
Make
to
them
be
a
part of the
solution.
solution. I love that. I love that.
100%. Yeah. All
Well,
right.
I reckon we should wrap that up because Leanne and I have kind of rules that we try to keep these at a relatively short space of time. We
Mm,
try to keep them under 25 if we can.
yep.
Um, anyway, thanks for listening, everyone. If you got any thoughts on this, we'd love to hear from you, and love to get your thoughts on boundary setting and on your expectations in relationships, and perhaps any other topics you'd like us to explore around this. So, from me, thanks very much for listening, and bye for now, Leanne.
Yeah, thank you. Again, just really be aware. What are your expectations? What are your partner's expectations? And how can you potentially eliminate them or work on them or understand them more deeply? Talk soon.
Great. Thanks for listening. Cool.